Hello, and welcome to another Saturday food support group. We have these Zoom meetings every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I just invite people to come and to share their stories because I've had so many people reach out to me in private messages and tell me their stories. And I just couldn't keep it for myself. I had to share with you all of the beautiful things that are happening when people break their addiction to sugar and carbs and processed food. And they get their brains back, they get their bodies back, they get their lives back. And they're just so excited that they can't wait to tell. And so I informed everyone that I would be recording these meetings, and I encouraged them that if they wanted to remain anonymous, that they can turn the camera off. But a lot of people they want to share. They want to share what has happened to them, and they're so excited about their new life. And then I also open it up for questions. If people are still struggling and they're still on this journey, that they can come and ask questions. But if you need more individualized care than just in a group like this, feel free to email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com, and I'll walk you through what it looks like to work with me one-on-one. All right, thanks. I hope you enjoy the group. Hello. Welcome to this Saturday food support group. This has been such an awesome experience. I started this Christmas Day, and it's just been so consistent and growing, and having people come and talk about how they've broken their addiction to sugar and carbs, and being able to ask questions and to give their testimony of what has happened for them, which has been so cool to hear all these different stories. So go ahead and raise your hand in the meeting, or you can just raise your hand on camera if you want. If you want to ask a question, or if you just want to tell us how your week's gone, you want to tell us something that's going on with you. Okay, Donna, go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to give you an update and tell you I feel better.
Good. Good.
Yep, I went back on the half dose, and yeah, so I feel better, and it's going smoothly now.
So your boat is a little bit calmer.
My boat isn't as rocky, yes, much calmer, and things are going a lot easier. So that has been nice. And my eating has been better since I went back on too. Like, I feel like I have been able to eat more consistent and fast, and just do everything is better, which I was kind of surprised about.
Wow. So you feel that maybe you're more in control of your eating because everything is stabilized with your medication.
Yes, absolutely. Because
That's awesome.
Before I was that week, I feel like I underate a lot because I wasn't, I just didn't feel hungry really. So now that I'm back on the meds, I feel like I am eating better, and my husband says things seem calmer. And we had kind of a rough couple of days with our granddaughter. I share an Amazon account with my son, and she's been getting up in the middle of the night and playing video games on the TV, and she spent $400 on my credit card in
Wow. We have
little like game coins. I don't know if it had been during that week that I might not have just completely lost it. So I just feel like everything is back in balance, and I feel better.
Well, and that's so hard to know how to respond whenever children do stuff like that, because you don't want to react and flip out. Because I remember whenever I was my mental health was not managed, I would react so almost aggressively, just like rah,
Right.
whenever it was just a typical childhood thing.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think if it had been in that week, I probably would have wrung her little neck. But this way I was like, you are in so much trouble. Like, there are some consequences for this. But yeah, I feel better, and I feel like my eating is better, and I don't have like the munchies or anything. Thank God I didn't like spend more than a week or so trying off of my meds, because I think I probably would have been like munchy, and I managed to like stay on track and not not eat off program or anything. So that was good. But yeah, I feel better, much better. So I just
That's
thought I'd tell you
awesome.
that.
So
Thank
I gotta ask, so is the crying more manageable or less?
Yes, actually it is. I didn't go back on the full dose, and so my daughter has been having some issues. This is always like a hard time for our family anyway, but my daughter, it's really hard for her. And then when my son committed suicide, my next to the oldest son is the one that found him. And
Got
he
it.
left like this big long journal that we copied and gave a copy to the kids. And she just she has her own mental health issues, so she struggles a lot. And when she called me during that first week that I was off my meds, I ended up just like in tears with her, not really able to like manage my own
Mm,
emotions and then manage her emotions too. So now I feel, it's been 20 years and we still struggle. And we're still sad and everything. But when the kids call, I'm able to like separate my emotions from their emotions and help them get through whatever it is that they're going through at the time.
yeah, and
So
that's really
yeah,
important because I mean, you can't really be a help to somebody and hold space for them when you're losing it.
right, right. And I feel like I want to be able to talk to my husband about it and not just, be able to just feel sad without like completely breaking down, so that I can, manage my thoughts and stuff. It sucks to be so disordered that I can't even think about him without like, not being able to function through my day. So yeah, it's been a lot easier, and it's been easy. I haven't been like sitting around crying at the drop of a hat, which is nice. um and I've been able to help the kids a little bit better. uh you think something like that, like after, they always say things like time heals all. Well, I got news for you. There are
Yeah,
some things time does not heal. And so it's just every year dealing with the kids and the grandkids and everything about that. So yeah.
absolutely.
So
And I thank you so much for sharing that because I think a lot of times, people they just don't talk about stuff like that. They don't talk about what it feels like to recover from, a close family member, a child, you know, uh, uh, committing suicide, and then how long it takes to recover from that, and to really navigate that and to manage that on a daily basis. It's really important.
yeah, it's been it was difficult for a long time, and it is a long journey. It's not like, a real short one. My daughter still has to take time off work, and we have to sometimes watch her, and we have to um yeah, it was a long time, and we didn't really know what happened. He was one of these kids that was an athlete. He ran track with his brothers, and he played football, and he played basketball, and he got great grades, and he had lots of friends, and he participated in the family, and he kept his room clean. And he wasn't one of these kids that was like appeared depressed all the time, or hung out in his room and didn't shower. And we've had suicide in the family prior to him, and it looked completely different. It wasn't, I mean, it was just like out of nowhere. I helped him pick out a present for his girlfriend for Valentine's Day, and he went out to Valentine's Day, and then that night killed himself. And it was, and we felt super guilty because we didn't, we were still working law enforcement at the time, and we didn't, we only had our duty weapons in the house, and we didn't really think that we needed to put them away with our teenagers. Everything was fine. And so he used one of our duty weapons, and yeah, it was awful. And it does take a long time to navigate. And it's funny how, you know, we've been through so many other things, and then just one change of medication, and I just didn't see any of that coming. So I'm glad I took your advice and took my own advice and went back on the meds, and tried to view that a little bit differently, because I would hate to lose another child because I wasn't able to navigate my own feelings and help them. So
Yep.
Anyway, thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much for sharing, Donna. I appreciate that so much. And I know that this story will help somebody.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right. Rosa, you have your hand up. Would you like to share?
Hi. Yes, and I just wanted to say, those last two stories really touched my heart.
Yes, you've got quite a story.
Yes. Well, I just want to say, I have a 14-year-old son, and when he was 8 years old, he became, he had all these suicidal ideations too. And a lot of it was because he had ADHD. I think this is some of the cause of it, of course, is that he had ADHD and he was on a medication. And I noticed that after that, he started having all these suicidal ideations. So I took him off of that medication, because before that, he was just my happy little boy. And then, of course, there's peer pressure, there's bullying and stuff like that, but there was just a change in his brain. And so I just took it upon myself. We did meditation. I just worked with him. I talked to him every day, but we still struggle with it sometimes, those thoughts come up. But yeah, it's just so hard because you just don't know what's going on in their minds,
Absolutely.
But I wanted to share a little bit about my story today.
Yes, please.
Because Emily, you inspired me to come on today and share it. And it's hard because I think a lot of times we overcome something, like even just food addiction or an alcohol addiction, and we don't think it's a big deal. And we think, but it is a big deal.
And it's something to celebrate.
It is. So I just celebrated 3 years of sobriety from alcohol.
Yay!
The other day. Yes. And I feel really proud of myself because it is hard in today's world, and I'm surrounded by people that drink, and I don't shame anyone. I don't say, oh, you shouldn't drink. My husband drinks. This is something with myself that I chose. But just a little bit of backstory. I think, that alcoholism and food addiction, sugar addiction, all those things, any kind of addiction, they're all the same. Yeah.
Yep. They go hand in hand.
Yeah. And that's a big part of my story and my recovery is, and, for me, I didn't choose to get outside help or, go to AA meetings or anything like that. Just for me, I felt like this was a decision that I wanted to make for myself. And it may sound kind of stubborn in a way, but I felt that I could do it myself. But this is my fourth time actually, relapsing and then recovering, I guess. But for me, what hand in hand was I would drink. And then I would raid the fridge. So I I would eat all the things that I knew I shouldn't be eating, because I also have a lot of gut issues, a lot of autoimmune issues, food sensitivities, that I was trying to heal too at the same time.
Yeah.
So in 2014 is when I started to try and heal from this. So December 1st, 2014 is the first time that I went sober. And I also took out all, I suffered from like candida overgrowth, a yeast overgrowth. And that was the big motivator for me, is I wanted to heal my health. So I took out alcohol, I took out coffee, I took out everything that wasn't meat or vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to starve out you're trying to starve out all the sugar.
Yes.
So I know that sounds really extreme, but I'm just one of those people where I just go all in.
Yeah.
Yes. So I did all of that, and that was the first time I had gone without alcohol for a longer than when I was pregnant with my son, which was in 2008. And yeah, it was hard at first. And I remember just taking a lot of Epsom salt baths because I had, all these toxins are being released from the food I was eating. Before I wasn't eating horribly, I wouldn't say, but I was eating what I thought was healthy, like, wheat bread and, salads and stuff like that. But I still had, kind of the sugar addiction too. So I would have sugar once in a while. So and fruit and all that stuff. So, my body was just detoxing. I remember thinking at the time, I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am without alcohol. It was a big part of my social life, and I just didn't know who I was without it. And so fast forward, I went 15 months. And for me, the first time was just about health, And then I noticed when I started to try to reintroduce foods, like fruit was the first thing I kind of started to reintroduce, I developed this huge sugar addiction. So I just reintroduced the fruit. That was the first thing. And then all of a sudden I'm raiding the cupboards with all, whatever sugar was in there that my son ate, for Halloween, I think it was at the time, all the candy and all this stuff. I did it all in secret. And then it developed to, well, if I'm adding all this stuff, I started wondering if I could have alcohol again.
Mm.
And so that was in 2016, I started drinking again, for the second time. But I noticed that, it was the sugar and then the alcohol. And
that's so important to point out, because I think that, we do get to a point where we need to reintroduce things, but we have to be really aware of what it triggers inside of us.
Yeah, and at the time I was kind of exploring like paleo, because I was like, okay, I'm feeling a lot better. I felt so much better without these, like the alcohol and the sugar. But I was like, well, I wanted to be normal, because at the time too, there wasn't any talk about keto. I mean, there probably was, but I wasn't
Not in your circle.
Yeah, that wasn't in my realm. And I was looking for a diet that I could, I just felt kind of like alone. I felt like a freak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I just can't handle, I knew I couldn't handle sugar. I had extreme reactions to sugar in my body. Like I thought at one time I was allergic to sugar. I went to the doctor, I got all these tests, they could never tell me what was wrong with me. So kind of fast forward, I guess, I started drinking again, and then it was probably 8-9 months later where I realized I gained weight. So the second time it was more about the weight loss, because I gained 20 pounds in a few months, really fast. And so I wanted to lose. I was like, okay, I need to just go back to eating just vegetables and meat, because I knew that kept me at a good weight. And so I was I decided to go back and to quit alcohol again. I didn't ever think I had a problem with alcohol at that time. I just thought, oh, I gained weight, I should stop drinking. And then, so it would be like kind of like 8 months, 9 months, I would quit drinking. And then I would start drinking again, kind of like this cycle.
Yeah.
But I started to notice that whenever I would drink, I would stay up late, my family would be asleep. It was like a stress reliever for me, you know. The stresses of the day, that was how I would release. But what started to happen that was really scary was that I would start to just eat or drink and then, you know, eat things that I knew didn't make my body feel good. And I would black out. And this never happened before. So this is the last time that I started drinking, and it was the worst. But I had, and I think keto, going keto and more carnivore makes you more sensitive as well. And so I was wondering if maybe, it's getting to the brain faster, like the alcohol.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is something that I always kind of wonder, because I would, not even drink that, what I thought that was that much. And then I would just be on my, couch, just blank. Like I'm awake, but I'm not there. And my husband would come out, and a few times he wanted, he almost thought he should call the ER or something, or take me to the ER, because he said that I was unresponsive, and that was really scary. But throughout the journey, I noticed, this connection with the sugar and then the alcohol, and I realized I had to deal with the whole thing. So when I would quit drinking, I would go to the sugar. So, I would quit drinking, and then I would be good, try and be good for a while with the diet. And then another, thing that would always kind of get me back to the sugar was like the keto treat.
Yeah.
And the fat bombs.
And the sweetener.
Yes. And I really couldn't have, I didn't do well with most of the keto treats, but I would try. I would try to make some bread and see how I did. Or the fat bombs were really what I went to, like just coconut oil and, some chocolate in there. But I would notice that it would trigger those cravings, and all of a sudden I would be binging like on non-keto stuff. And I wouldn't really even know, like I wouldn't have that thought in my mind, like why, I wouldn't think, oh, I'm going to go have this. It would just be like, I'm eating all the food.
Yeah, exactly.
But some of the tools that I did use that did help me, probably started in 2017. I started meditating.
Yes.
Yes. And that actually brought me to the realization that this last time in 2019, I was going kind of more carnivore and eating more meat, but it was still like, I would say, I had some plant foods in there, but I stopped doing the fat bombs. I realized I needed to get that sweet taste out of my mouth.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I hear that so many, I hear that all the time.
Well, and this was intuitive. Like I didn't hear this anywhere.
Yeah.
But when I started to eat more fat, and I started to meditate, and I started to get more in tune with me.
Yes.
And I started to listen to this voice that said, you need to get the sweet taste out. And there was another voice that said, like, I don't feel like I made the decision to quit drinking. It was like you say, like a knowing.
Like a knowing, yeah.
It was like, you're not drinking anymore, But I did have an experience right before I quit this last time, was with my son, and my son is my heart, you know. But, and this made me feel so bad, but we had gone out for, I think it was Super Bowl or something. We went out to a pizzeria bar, and we've been drinking all day, and I, drank too much, of course, and then I was falling off of a stool. I was eating, like I was really, really hungry. You get hungry when you're drinking a lot.
Yeah. And you don't make good choices when you're drinking a lot.
Yes, and I don't even remember part of this evening, but apparently, I blacked out, and I was just having a great time, but I don't remember any of it. But I was falling off of a bar stool, and then we went home, and I was supposed to give my son some pizza. I ate a piece of it, and I said, "This is mine," and I was just like really not myself, and I was very mean to him, and I was
just out of character.
Yeah. And so my husband actually told me, you need to go to bed, so went to bed. The next morning I woke up, and, my son was very angry at me, and he said, "Mom, you're just very mean to me."
Oh.
Yeah. And that was the kicker for me too.
Mm-hmm.
But also I just realized, I'm trying to heal myself, but I'm doing this really unhealthy thing that is counterintuitive. I'm eating this really, mostly healthy food, but yet I'm drinking alcohol, which is wiping out, all of it. And then one thing I'll mention too is that when you drink a lot, it wipes out your good bacteria in your gut.
Good point.
And I am trying to heal, the candida overgrowth, the leaky gut, all these things that I'm suffering from. And also another thing is that when you have an overgrowth, like a candida overgrowth, that bacteria loves sugar.
Yep.
And so it's not like you want the sugar. It's almost like the bacteria wants that sugar. So it'll do anything it'll do anything it can to get it.
So tell us how miserable your life is now, not drinking for 3 years. How miserable is your life?
Well, one of the things I'll say is going into it, I did read a book called Sober AF.
Okay.
That is by Sarah Ordo. But that sheds some light onto what alcoholism can look like. Or like knowing when, it could look like you're having fun all the time, you're just drinking wine. It could look like that, or it could look like the party girl who's just, going out every night. It could look like so many different things. It's not like you did this horrible thing where you ran into someone or killed someone, or it could look like so many things, I guess.
Yeah.
But what I changed my mindset going into it. I was, I decided that I did not, I don't need these things to have fun. I don't need these things to be me. And I can, I'm not trying to disrupt anyone else's life. I can go out, and I've been in a lot of situations where there's alcohol all over the place, but I'm drinking my club soda and lime.
Yeah.
I've even been to Vegas a few times.
That's awesome.
And actually, the first time I went to Vegas, I was sober, and I was really proud of the fact that I can go have fun and be sober in a place where there's debauchery everywhere.
Yeah.
But I am, I'm leading by example. But I decided that I was going to do this for me, and that I didn't need that substance anymore. And the same goes for, for sugar and carbs and all that stuff. And it's just a decision that you make for your life, to live your best life. Yeah. And I decided I was going to live my best life.
That's awesome.
And so now I have, people that come to me, to ask how to get sober, or, how to stay sober. And the best piece of advice I have is just to sit with yourself and doing the meditation has really helped, but also to journal. And that's one thing I did, is I have a journal that I wrote in every day that just, I would put down how I was feeling, what happened that day. And then I really think meditation and these cravings can go hand in hand. So when you think about meditation, it's a practice, and all these thoughts come and then they go, right? So that's the same way I think about my craving, is I can have a craving and I can look at that craving and I could say, well, it's a craving, right? Do I need this thing right now, or can I let it pass? And so that's what I do. I just kind of look at it and I let it pass,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that there's so many people who, they get through this and they just want to keep it to themselves. So you being transparent, it really helps people. And I really appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
Anything else that you want to add?
Well, just tell everyone that they're not alone, with I did so much of this in secret. Like, I would have chocolate in my closet, and and we have to deal with all of the addictions, like, together. You can't just deal with one, and I also used to smoke cigarettes too. That's another one.
Yeah.
But because you replace all your addiction. If it's not one thing, it's the other. But just reach out, like, if you are struggling, because if I ever think that I'm struggling with any of my addictions, I know that I have someone that, I can talk to. I can plug into a community. There is an AA meeting place nearby, so if I need to go, if I feel I need to go, I'll go.
And how can people get a hold of you, Rosa?
Oh, I'm on Instagram as Rock and Rosa Wellness.
Rock and Rosa Wellness.
Rock and Rosa Wellness, and on Facebook I'm Rosa Stockton. And
awesome.
Then I am also a health coach, and I have a website too.
Go ahead. What's your website?
Oh, it's rockandrosawellness.com.
Awesome.
And I also have a podcast, which you've been on.
Yes, it's amazing. Thank you.
And that one is called Rock Your Best Life.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that you're doing in the community, not only with sobriety, but with, with wellness. I really appreciate you. And I'm so, so, so grateful that we've crossed paths.
I am too. I just really resonate with what you're trying to do too, Emily.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jules.
Yeah, hi. I kind of wanted to share. I had a discussion the other day with someone who was recovering from an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of my own history with eating disorders that developed when I was in high school. And it kind of brought me back to when I started. When I was young, I was raised mostly by my grandparents because both my parents worked. And my grandmother was from the South. And so I ate a lot of sausage and eggs and bacon, and I was really happy. Like, I would just eat those things, and I was, perfectly thin. I ate that all the time, every day. I would ask my grandmother for sausage for dinner sometimes, and she would make it, of course. And so I was just like really, really happy all the time. And they would call me a sausage-o vegetarian because I only ate sausages. And my cousins at the time, they were all vegetarian, and so I called myself a vegetarian, but I only ate sausage. I didn't eat any vegetables. And then my parents moved away, and I no longer had my grandmother to raise me. And my parents were from that school of thought of, well, if you have a weight problem, like they had weight problems, it must be the fat. It's not all the bread or all the potatoes or all the other stuff. So I went from a very healthy weight and diet to turkey bacon, tons of breads and potatoes, margarine, no natural fats at all. And of course, what happened is I started to balloon up and get very, very sick like they were. And we were just this very, very, sick, inflamed family, and not touching any fatty meats. like
Wow.
none at all. It was really just the lowest. Anything with fat, they had read at the time that fat was the culprit. It wasn't all the sugar, and so our diet was pretty much nothing but sugar and carbs. That was it. So I grew up with that, and my whole time, my parents, my mother made my lunch or my father made my lunch, and so I had to eat it. I didn't have any choice. And when I got to high school, I was just fed up. I was sick of it. I was inflamed. I was overweight. I felt horrible, and so without telling anyone, and coming into your own as an adolescent, I decided to stop eating because I felt horrible every time I ate. And guess what? I felt better. I felt so much better by not eating that crap that even if I only ate one meal a day when I was in front of them, I would not eat the rest of the day, and I felt really, really, really good.
Wow.
Now, it wasn't necessarily because I shouldn't have been eating. It was because what I was eating was literally poison for me. It was hurting me more than it was helping me. And
so it helps to eat less poison.
Yeah, that was it. And but the downside of that is that when your only meal of that day of that OMAD, is not nutritious and not nutrient dense, I wasn't getting enough.
No.
So that led, that you could consider, a lot of people consider that anorexia. That led to bulimia, because then I would binge because I would be so hungry. Of course, I'd be shoving food in my mouth that wasn't nutritious, that wasn't helping me, and then I would throw up. And I did that for a long time. Now, it did stop the inflammation a bit. It was like, the worst way you could possibly do fasting, but it did, I felt better. I felt, had more mental clarity. I felt stronger. And if I had only known that it was all I had to do was switch from that horrible processed food and carbs and sugar to just meat, like I had originally found when I was a kid, when I was 4 or 5, that's all I ate. And I was so happy, it would have completely changed my life. And I think there's a direct connection to eating disorders and the food that everyone tells them they should eat.
Yeah.
Because when someone has an eating disorder and they switch to carnivore, just like with almost every mental illness, they get better.
Yeah.
They feel better. It's like all of a sudden, they're told they're crazy. And part of my purging was I felt so bad eating all that crap, eating the tons of bread or potatoes or ice cream. It made me feel bad. I didn't want it in my body. My body knew it did not want all this. It wasn't nutrients. It wanted to just get rid of it. And I can binge on carnivore and I can feast on carnivore, and I never get that reaction. I never get that feeling. My entire life I've had that. And when I eat a lot, even if I eat a ton of steak to the point where I'm just like so fuller than I ever was when I was binging in the past, I never get that feeling of, oh, I need to go purge now.
Wow.
Like my body is just, there's no signal sent out from my brain from my body saying, oh, you need to get rid of that food, because it knows that, oh, this is all good. This is great.
Yeah.
I love the steak. I love the chicken. I love the butter. Okay, keep feeding me this. And I think there's so many people that could, with just, people with eating disorders, just like mental illness, we're not crazy. Our bodies is telling us something it doesn't like. And they spend all this money and all these doctors tell you, no, you're crazy. You should be eating bread. And it's like, no, as soon as they switch, they feel so much better. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, that was it. It was just that I was eating the wrong foods and my body was screaming at me in every way possible to tell me to stop eating these kinds of foods.
Wow. That's profound. That's so true. I never really thought about that connection with eating disorders. That's really good, Jules.
Well, thank you. I just want to share that.
No, thank you so much. And I really think that, I have witnessed many people come to this way of eating with eating disorders. And I hate to say it's like, the miracle thing, but because there's so many different variables. But across the board, the majority of people who come with eating disorders to this find healing because they're finally getting the nutrients that their body needs. Because with any binging or eating or restricting, they're not getting the nutrients that they need. And as you eat a nutrient dense, meals, you are thriving. Your brain is getting what it needs.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Jules.
Thank you.
So Carl, what would you like to add?
All right. Hi, everybody. And this is the first time I've stopped in here, and I've been meaning to over the past, several weeks, and I just never have gotten organized enough to try it. But I did manage to get in today, and so thank you. I guess my name is, to be embarrassed here a little, but my name is actually Jim, but I don't care, Carl.
Hi, Jim.
Why did I do that? Make that name? I don't know.
That's okay.
So anyway, gosh, this is kind of interesting. We'll see how all this goes, and it's really only 18 people I think on right now. Is that right? Or about?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's where, if I may, just kind of briefly say where I'm at is, and I appreciate what Jules had to say there, because I really do feel, I'm 67 years old, and I believe I've been eating disordered all my life.
Wow.
I think since, most identifiably since I was like 17 or 18 years old. And, there's so many details associated with it. It would take a long time to cover all that, but so I won't. But I am just at this juncture here, kind of deciding, once again, I have tried to go to do more of a carnivore type diet. The reason for that is I had a coronary artery calcium score done 3 years ago, and it was 425. I had it done a year later again, and it was 525. And that's a 30% increase. And presuming that it has increased at the same rate, which is, impossible to really say, but I would be somewhere north of 800 right now.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying real hard to try to understand what would be the constructive response to this problem on this whole like coronary artery calcium score thing and arterial disease and stuff like that. If you have any thoughts on that, Emily, or wanted to respond to anything that I had to say here, or anybody, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would definitely toss that over to Justin. Put something in the chat. Have you looked into Bart K? I think that you would love to go down that rabbit hole. Bart K has some really good information concerning all the science with the cardio pathophysiologist. Anyway,
so Bart was a professor of cardiophysiology, pathophysiology in New Zealand.
Thank you.
His channel is just, if you look up Bart K on YouTube, the nutrition watchdog, he's got entire playlists on atherosclerosis, cardiovascular.
Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, do you see Justin's thing where it says, are you on Instagram, Jim?
I just clicked I am on Instagram, yes, in answer to your question.
Okay,
yes.
So you can look up Justin at alloutlife.carnivore.
Yep.
And he will absolutely give you that link to find Bart.
Oh, sure. And
can I add something about eating disorders?
Oh, yes, go ahead, Claire.
Yeah, because okay, I have to switch my camera. I've been dealing with eating disorder my whole life. Carnivore helped me a lot, and I'm now out of it. But what I want to say, because I've been in the steak and butter gang for the last 6 months, and it's really great. I love it so much. But they are always speaking about feasting and fasting. If you had in your life any kind of eating disorder, you should not fast. I've done the Rivero coaching. I'm now a coach. It was clear, if you had an eating disorder, never fast. And for me, this is very, very, very important to highlight it, because too often we can see people with this past doing the feasting and fasting program and then going back to some restrictive habit, because fasting will remind you the time you were under eating, and then you go back to restriction. And when you go back to restriction and then you feast, you will go back to binge eating, even with carnivore, the same way you were before, because of this restriction. So for me, we have to keep in mind, if you have any kind of fast, of eating disorder, do not fast. That's not for everyone. Fasting is just a range of the carnivore diet, but it's just only for some selected people, and it's not for everyone. I just wanted to highlight this.
That's very good. Thank you. That's really great. I appreciate that. And it's a very good, something certainly to keep in mind, and I will.
Yeah, I had experience with a lot of people that just went back to eating disorder because of the fasting. So be careful. You do whatever you want to do. I don't say it won't be good for you. I don't know you. I don't have enough to advise you. But I know that with eating disorder, it is not recommended. Sean Baker said no on the course, and I trust Sean Baker quite a lot. Judy Shaw wrote as well in her book, because she had eating disorder before, and she wrote in her Carnivore Cure that fasting is not for people with eating disorder. I believe on it, and I want to spread the word.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, yeah. So if I may say just a few more words, I'm not ambitious to lose weight, and I'm not ambitious. I mean, I don't need to lose any weight. And so I don't know if I would ever really embrace that fasting and feasting thing. However, I am talking to a person who suffered with an eating disorder all her life, and she apparently is doing that exactly same thing, and it's working well for her. That doesn't mean it would work well for me. And so, I mean, I recognize that. You know, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to add, and so maybe Kim would like to go ahead and have something to say now.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you all listening to me a little bit, and the little bit of discussion we had, and the recommendation of Bart K.
Yes.
And also Justin at, I think you said All Out Life or something.
Yeah, can you see it on the screen?
I can't right now. Underneath his picture, maybe.
Yeah, it's at
alloutlife.carnivore. If you look all on Instagram,
I see it now. I see it, Justin. I see it at alloutlife.carnivore. Yeah, I'll try to write that down.
Be a good time. I said we'll chat. It'll be a good time. I'll get you plugged in. No problem.
Oh, okay. So maybe I can just message you then on Instagram. Was that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Well, thank you, Justin. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Justin is a coach as well, and he is a wealth of knowledge.
Okay. Yeah. I might even engage with him. It's still on Rivero, is that right? Or
I've gone on my own. I've got links and stuff on my Instagram that people can follow on there. So yeah, but yeah, feel free to hit me up. You or anyone else, always welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, no, I shall yield to Kim unless somebody else has anything to say.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep, you're welcome.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. Wow, I'm really blown away by everyone's honesty and vulnerability and motivation, really, to make their best life here. I've been on carnivore 3.5 years, First 4 years was 50 grams of carbs a day, paleo. And before that, I mean, I could relate to everybody. All my life eating. I mean, you can be born with insulin resistance, and my mom loved her sweets. She died of diabetes and COPD, her two addictions. And so I'm going to be 67 in a couple of weeks. So
which is amazing. And tell me how often you dye your hair.
It's not dyed.
I know.
I know, from my Facebook. Yeah, I quit dyeing it a few years ago, like about 4 years ago, because it has changed. It's very fragile.
Look at that, 67 years. That's amazing.
Well, okay, I don't want to do, it would take me, like, I should write a book, but like when I was 25, I got interstitial cystitis, which is extremely painful, uncurable bladder disease. They did a lot of things to me that made me worse, that injured me all through the years. And I was on a lot of drugs. So I did a lot of gut damage. 32, I got the plantar fasciitis because I was very interested in plant-based from a teenager, because that was my spiritual path, was more the Eastern, but I just got worse, and the plantar fasciitis went in nerve pain. And again, all those invasive things and things I tried. By the time I was, started the paleo, I was in a wheelchair. I was in a mobility chair. And all before that, I was trying to do all the different versions of plant-based, because you always heard how healthy they were, and they were just making me worse. That and everything the doctors were doing, and quite a few things alternative too, injured me. So, but anyway, so I started the paleo. I started researching on YouTube the other side, because I had fasted for 21 days at a vegan place. That was the only place that would fast me that long on water. And that was a real turnaround for the bladder disease. But eating the vegan food, they brainwash you too, because all you can watch is these videos about, the cruelty to the animals. And you want to be a vegan. I tried for 3 more years and just got worse and worse, and ended up in the mobility chair. But by the middle of May, I started January 1st with the 50 grams of carbs a day. By the middle of May, I was out of the wheelchair. Now, I still have foot pain, but nothing like that. And I had been physical therapy and all that, tried all that stuff, and drugs and surgery. And then like a month later, I was at Sprouts Market, and I ran into this kid handing out bacon samples. We got to talking. He says, "I'm carnivore." I'm like, "You must be crazy." I'm thinking this kid is crazy. He's just a kid, he didn't know. He's just crazy. And I went home, I started thinking about it. And I thought about what it was like being on paleo, is that I was constantly cooking. I was constantly thinking about measuring out my sweet potato, and just, constantly thinking about food. And it would take so long to make it and to clean it up. And I was still craving. I still had cravings. So I thought, I'll try this for 30 days. Anyway, that was 3.5 years ago. The carnivore really was the only thing that ever cured my lifelong eating disorders. One, I was anorexic when I was 14. And one thing that really helped me, Jim Carl, is I had a lot of insomnia the first couple of months, especially the second month. And I had a Zoom with Dr. Ken Berry, and he told me about magnesium drops by Trace Minerals and you can get them on Amazon. And I still do them today. I still put 3 drops in every glass of water. And also what worked for me, I needed a lot of fat, because I had to fix the cravings. I had to fix the insulin resistance. And so I would go we have a local slaughterhouse out about an hour from me, and we have a butcher back and forth between those two, and get a big old side of ribeye, untrimmed. Yes. You guys don't know what untrimmed ribeye is like. There's a big tail of fat on the bottom of it. You don't see that in the grocery stores. Yep. That really helped me. And I wanted to say also, Carl, well, I'll wait till he gets back, about the CAC score. So remind me of that when he gets back.
I will.
So that helped me a lot. And it was a completely, oh, there you are. Okay. I was going to say, about 3 months after I started the paleo, so this is almost 4 years ago, I had a CAC score. Now, it was very good because since I was 25, I had to give up all the junk food because of my bladder. My bladder hates processed food, preservatives, chemicals, soda pop, diet soda pop, coffee. So that's part of why my skin looks so good. I've drank water for 41 years. But anyway, I had a CAC score and it was 5, which is very low risk, right? Low risk. Okay, so this September, which was like almost 3.5 years later, I had another one, it was 0.31. They said that's 0. So
Wow.
I cleaned out my calcium deposits with carnivore. Now, I guess there's some doctors say, oh, but there could be soft deposits in there, blah, blah, blah. But, I don't know. I was watching a lot of Ivor Cummings and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And put it on Facebook. I was like, my God, you guys, I've been just eating meat and fat for 3.5 years and I cleaned out my heart. This is I proved for myself. This is revolutionary. I didn't get any responses. I'm like, this is guys, and they're like, I have some vegan and vegetarian friends on Facebook, and no carnivores. I try not to talk about diet on my regular.
Well, and I think it's so important to find out what works for you, and that's why I encourage everybody whenever I'm doing my coaching is that everybody do their own experiment. Mm-hmm. It's not like, hey, you need to eat this. Emily's going to come and tell you what you need to eat. No, you need to eat what your body tells you to eat, along with, cutting out the sugar and the carbs, like the obvious things. So thank you so much for your story. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that you got a chance to come on here, and you guys are welcome anytime. We're going to be here every Saturday. Bring your questions, bring your stories, and just thank you so much for spending this time with me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Thank you, everyone that shared. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone that just watched. I love it. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the group. There is always so much beauty in being transparent and in really recognizing that we're all not alone on this journey. And so if you want to, feel free to join the Saturday support groups. They're every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And if you need more individualized care, then reach out to me and email me at innerclaritysystem@gmail.com. And I would love to walk through and show you what it looks like to work with me one-on-one. All right, thanks.